See if I can record. Okay, I think we are on live, beloved.
You let me know.
Okay. Yep, we are.
You let me know.
Hold on. Make sure everything is going. So, greetings, Facebook. This is Ra Namen. I am here with Akua. Akua, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, we're here.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. So, we've been doing work on your healing with your daughter. Yes. And what I want to dive into is some of the things that you experienced, some of the breakthroughs that you had when we was working together. And so I'm gonna ask you some questions specifically.
All right.
What was really going on in the relationship with you and your daughter that you had to reach out to me and had this solved like right away?
Well, to give everybody a brief background, the daughter, I have 3 children, and my eldest daughter, I had given her up for adoption at 18, not my choice. And she found me at age 24, and I'm age 42 at the time. So there was a 12 years that we were in each other's lives. It wasn't all smooth. It wasn't all happy and smiles all the time. It started out that way, but then there was questions that we didn't know to ask. We didn't have any guidance in all of this. So there were, the last time that I saw her was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago in LA. And it wasn't a good visit. And I left, and I did not speak to her for 2 years. And it's heartbreaking when you don't know how to communicate on a spiritual and on a holistic level, so that you can be able to be heard and to hear clearly what the other individual is saying. Both my daughter and I are born under the sign of Mercury. She's a Virgo and I'm a Gemini, so you can see how our communication styles are different. Number one, because there's 18, well, she'll be 50 this year. So there's generational gaps. There's the way she was raised, the way I was raised. There's a lot of dynamics that came into our life, or was the foundation of our lives, that we needed to overcome that. She means the world to me, and I know that I do to her as well. However, we couldn't bridge this gap of how to speak to one another so that we both could be heard. She's a powerful woman, and I'm a powerful woman. And we needed the male energy of an individual who knew both of us. You knowing her, um, meeting her through me, and I felt as though that if anyone, I trusted you more than anyone because you knew both of us on a level that you could be able to hear her and hear me and connect the dots. And when I think you brought it up, or I think I brought it up, I can't remember which, but it just made sense that with your wisdom, with your knowledge, and I believe also the male energy that we needed to be that grounding source, you were that magnet that could pull us together and keep us from making and showing us the mistakes that probably that we both were making, that she could hear me, but maybe she wasn't processing, or I could hear her, but I wasn't processing. And instead of us solving the problems, we were just getting further and further and further apart. So that's what
I definitely felt that this was really energetic, and yes, it needed to be grounded for one, but also along with grounding, a lot of the two needed to meet. And of course, I was that medium of meeting, but it had to flow. You saying what you saying, expressing, and she's saying and expressing what she needed in a very spiritual container. Um, it was really energetic. And this is what my second question was to that. Since I saw that it was really energetic and you probably had other things that you did before you came in, what else did you do? What else you tried to do to save the problem? Um, therapist, preacher, um, things of that nature, whatever the case may be. What are some other things that you did before you decided to seek me for this?
well, I believe the times that we spent at Massage, that phenomenal place that helps you to get still and find out who you are outside of uh, outside of the world. And I believe last year he had a silent retreat, 5 day silent retreat, and my daughter was able to go there and stay 5 days without me, without you, but be in an environment of others who were seeking um, answers. And for her to be silent for 5 days was paramount because that's not um, that's not her path.
Right, right. Yeah.
That was a challenge for her that she stepped up to and was able to do that and get to the root of some things. Swami is a phenomenal healer in the way of being able to peel that onion and get to the core of things and ask those tough questions, and also being a man that she respects, that he, I believe, since I was not there, that he was the catalyst to help us get to this place and have you to do the final piece of taking us across that threshold, so that now she just left me yesterday after being with me for 3 days, and it was a very good meeting, good time. We really had not seen one another physically other than on Zoom and Duo, but we had not been in each other's space for 2.5 years, and that was key. When I put her on the plane on yesterday, um, she felt as though she knew the reason that she had to come and visit. She flew here not only to see me, but she has 3 sisters, stepsisters, who are who also live here in this area where I am, and she was able to do that and just close that gap. So that was great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With that, uh, and that was beautiful. That was good. That was really good. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning bad, 10 meaning the best. From where you are now to where you guys have came from with this, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you see yourself, your feel for in this, your growth, both of you growth with each other?
Where do I see us now? Where we are now?
Where you are now, yes.
Yeah, we're definitely. Um, now I'm not going to say 10. I said 9.5.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
In the beginning, um, where do you think that was at on a scale of 1 to 10?
we weren't on the scale. I'm up there. No, we weren't.
You guys, you could communicate, but there was still friction, and of course, I saw the energetics in that. Um, I say a 1.5 because you guys were kind of talking a little, and it was getting somewhere, but it was still like wasn't going as what it is right now. Um, yeah, I say that. I say that. You have anything to add on that?
Well, when you say it that way, I guess I went back to the 2.5 years when I left LA, and then there was no communication, none. 2.5 years. But yeah, in the interim, we had started to peel that onion, break that shell. So when by the time we got to having the time with you, this was after the retreat. So yeah, I would give us maybe a 5 at the time before we had our, yeah. So I see what you're saying. I had gone too far back.
On the scale. And what is it? What is it? The one thing or a few things? I'll just say one. The one thing that I specifically said in the times when we were doing, our sessions that really shifted, that really hit home with you, if you can remember what that was for you.
I believe whenever she and I would, you would ask her a question, and then you would ask me to comment or make my suggestion or make. There were times when um, you could hear me and hear what I was trying to convey, and you were the one, and she wasn't really getting my point, and you were the one that would stop her enough for her to be able to let me be able to get my complete sentence out and my whole point out before she would interject. And before that, whenever she and I would communicate, she would stop me. And I guess that Mercury in her and Mercury in me, she grew up in a family that allowed her to be able to express herself with respect. And I grew up in a family that was total opposite.
Right.
I had no right. I could not speak. It was the old people were that raised me were um, children are supposed to be seen and not heard. And something happened to me when I was 8 that closed my chakra, throat chakra, totally. And this vibrant individual child she was sequestered. And from that moment until I guess when you and I and her, I wasn't able to be free to be me, and definitely not to speak my truth. And so for all of these years, you allowed, and then during that time, the period that we came to you, you saw me for who I was. And she may have as well. However, you allowed me to be able to get my whole point out. And you would stop her and let her hear my whole point before she would interject. And that had been the issue with me no matter what. If someone stopped me in the middle of what I was saying, either whatever it was, they would keep me from getting my entire point across. And it would stop me and it was like a stopper. And I could not, and I was always frustrated that let me get my complete thought out. Let me voice my opinion totally without judgment, not saying that she was judged or anyone else would, but I just felt as though that I was not completely me because I wasn't completely heard. Make sense?
That makes a lot of sense, and that made me think of the time when, in the very beginning of the session, I was saying that for the both of you, when the other person is expressing anything, just to completely hold space for that person. Don't interject. Don't say, "Oh, he did" or "she did" or whatever, but just be still and just allow. I remember that real clearly. So yeah, and with that field being created, both voices can be heard and can be expressed. So yeah, I remember that. Thank you.
So I
So
hope to see, and honestly, just to go across, that has, that um, the foundation that we set with you allow both of us to recognize that we both are communicators, but we communicate differently. And the way she was, we spoke on that just this weekend. The fact that she was allowed in her household to be able to, with respect, say whatever, and that was not true of my growing up, my childhood. And that followed me into adulthood where abuse was happened, and I didn't feel safe enough to be able to tell anyone of my abuse because either not being believed or whatever. I I wasn't able to do that. So that was a part of me that stayed with me all my life, and never being able to tell anyone what had happened to me. So
where did that
I
stem from?
I'm sorry.
Where did that stem from?
From being that 8-year old and being put in a wastebasket in my third grade class, and my parent coming to the school and finding me in this wastebasket at the front of my class, the humiliation from that, and then going home and being punished, not asking me what happened, not finding out, gave all of the credit to the teacher, and not finding out why were you punished at 8? Because I was a straight A student, never gave nobody any trouble. Um, and I think just because I was just too talkative, that got me, put in that wastebasket, and that has followed me all my life.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And that's what closed your throat chakra and couldn't fully express exactly what you wanted to express.
It totally transformed me. I was not that jubilant, very, I never met another stranger. I would like meet you on the schoolyard and say, my name is what it is, and I'm your friend, and you're my buddy. And that's just who I was. But
Right.
after age, I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't that individual, that spirit. I wasn't that happy spirit no more.
Mm. let me go to another time when you were on the table, and I know this is far out of
Oh,
the the rape situation. Well, your daughter, yeah. But could you feel the throat chakra opening up then on the table? Third eye.
you talking about our last session, healing session together?
Yeah.
Um, that session was like no other. Uh, I've had a lot of energy work in the last 4 or 5 years, and that particular session, when you were finished, I was somewhere where I had never been before, and it was I was out of my body, and it
Mm,
was a while before I came back,
mm,
and
okay.
and I knew I was out of my body, and I didn't know how to. I just waited for whatever the ancestors or whatever the spirit guides was working on me. I was just letting them finish the process. But I had never, with all the energy practitioners who would work on me, I had never had as powerful and as deep a session as I had with you. And your energy is number one, you're the only male that has ever worked on me. No, I take it back. But you're the only melanated male that has worked on me. I have to qualify that.
Yeah.
You're the only melanated male that has worked on me to bring me to that deepness that I needed to, whatever the dots that needed to be connected, you're the catalyst during that session. Because that was my third session with you. And it was like, this is the sealer. So
Yeah.
whatever we have to work on her, whatever needs to be done while she's on the table now, in the space with you as the conduit,
Hmm.
that, that was the sealer to where I am now. And that happened in January. So it just catapulted me. It just took me to a whole nother level. And I don't know where I went. I didn't ask. They didn't tell me.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad.
And to toot your home, your horn, beloved, the time where I was on your table at Metasage and you were doing your I forget the healing touch session, and you were doing the collecting data and doing people, and when you did me, I can still remember that to this day, like clearly. Your hands, your touch, without even touching, was so gentle yet powerful and hit all the right spots for me to sink in and align. And yeah, that was powerful as hell. Tell the people what you do and how they can get in contact with you for that.
As people can see, I live in an RV. I am a mobile, holistic energy medicine practitioner. Uh, and right now I'm sitting in Augusta, Georgia, but I can be anywhere. I can be anywhere in the world today. I can fly and bring my healing to you. Uh, and I love the life that I live. I live off the grid. I live in nature. I have a sacredwomantemple.org is my website. Sacred Women Plural Temple.org. And I work with women with womb trauma because I was subject to that being molested before I was age 12. I, by male cousins, I was the only girl in the house in the family of nothing but boy cousins, and I was the baby. And I survived domestic violence from my second husband, who strangled me to unconsciousness and released my throat just in the nick of time before I was taken from this earth. And so I work with women who are at the age that I am, who suffered that during their younger years, and now as seasoned adults, there are areas of anxiety, there are areas of depression, there are areas of anger and frustration that they have not connected the dots that goes back to when they were young. And so I am the bridge that helps you go back there, close that door to be able to open up the door that you need going forward, because it's all connected. And with me, it was migraines. I suffered migraines from the age of 10 till I was 50, severe migraines. And it wasn't until I became involved in energy work that I found out that my migraines was the physical manifestation of the pain from the molestation because I started having the migraines before I had my period.
Wow.
And the doctors couldn't figure out why they thought I needed glasses and this, that. But the pain stemmed before my periods. I didn't have my period till I was 12. And for the whole time of my gestation of going through that part of fertility, my pains got severe, my migraines got more and more severe. And to the point of when I was 25, I had taken a medication for the migraines that had codeine in it. And I lost consciousness riding the city bus in Savannah. I saw my stop. I never got off. I woke up 4 hours later for my mother-in-law taking my clothes off and putting me to bed. I never regained consciousness of what happened. I don't know what happened. And it has never come back to my memory of what happened in that 4 hour gap. But I never took that medication again, but I still had the pain. I still had the migraine. But I stopped taking the medication because suppose I was driving. Suppose had the kids in the car. I could have hurt or killed myself. So I still had the migraines, but I had to find a holistic way of being able to take care of the pain without taking meds.
Right.
So that massage therapist taught me my Jijo acupressure point when I was in my 30s while I was running my first business. And that's what I learned. Acupressure, it's called Chinese first aid. But when he taught me that, my first Jijo acupressure point, he relieved my migraine within the first 3 to 5 minutes, because if I do not get you could feel it, you know when it's coming. Yeah. If I don't control it within that, I'm done. And that meant that I would have to close my business and go home, be in the darkness, cold. Anybody who has suffered from migraines, they know what you have to do. And anything control it. Somebody could walk by me with the wrong perfume on and I would instant migraine. But now that I know, and I've been pain-free for the last 20 years, I have no pain in my body whatsoever. So, but I teach anyone.
No pain and no meds.
No meds. I take no meds, none. Yeah. I walk barefoot. I sleep in my house. This is my house. Yes, I have taken no med, none. I have not had any pain, no migraine pain for 25 years. Since wow. 2002. was the last time that I had a migraine, 2002. And I had a migraine for 14 days while I was in the SART school, 14 days. And so no pain, no pain whatsoever in my body, none.
So
that's my platform, is who I am. This is what I do. I speak internationally. I was on the Shift Network last year, and I spoke to people all over the world. And so I'm grateful that the ancestors put me in this area, and I am an expert in my field. I give honor.
Yes, yes. It's so amazing how the energy from, the situation where we was talking about before with the relationship with you and your daughter, and the energy of you healing yourself with the migraines, with just ego and lifestyle and where that came from. Like, that's amazing. And people think that they need meds, sometimes therapy, not knocking therapy and stuff off, but everything very root level is energetic. And when you tackle it at the root level, everything heals. Everything.
That's true. Everything heals.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's all I wanted to express on this live, to come on and get your testimony, your experience of our sessions with your daughter, and a little bit about you and what you do, because you are an energy worker and a healer yourself, living in nature in your RV full time for how long now?
4.5. It's been 4 years that I've been full time RV for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Living on the land. I drive my house, and she takes real good care of me. She's a good girl. I got 60,000. I have 59,000 miles this year. I put 9,000 miles on it myself. But yeah. And now I know that there's a whole community of us out there. There are Black women and Black men who are riding, and I have connected with the African American RV full-time RVers. So even though I got a small girl, because I live this lifestyle, hey, that give me kudos all day long. Hey, you out here. I might not have no big girl for $1 million, but she is worth $1 million to me. Yeah.
That is peace. So people, if you have anyone, any family member that is suffering from the migraines or any type of ailment, Akua is here for you. And if anyone is needing assistance of family support when it comes to trauma or whatever the case may be, inbox me. I'm here. We both are here. Akua, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother Ra. Thank you. You are my gem. You are the goddess. You are the God for the goddesses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, beloved.